We are here to do a very quick live stream to basically do a little show and tell for the YouTube Creator Studio Beta. And I've got Himanshu with me. Welcome back to the show, Himanshu.
Hey, everyone.
And this is super informal. We haven't really prepared a lot for this live stream, but we wanted to mainly do one thing that we haven't done in previous Creator Insider videos, which is actually just show you how to do stuff in Studio Beta. Don't just talk about it. Although I know a lot of you appreciate how every newsflash I mention Studio Beta. But as Barbara was saying to me, she gets it. And but we're just going to do a little more because we want to over communicate. And what we'll do is we'll start with me sharing my screen, and I'm going to show you one of my test channels. It's not like a real channel. And I'll point out some things that I think are good, and then I will point out some things that get people sometimes get people stuck, and I can try and unstick you. And then we'll take some questions. And then any questions that we can't answer, we will follow up as a pinned comment in the replay. And I also have some other folks from the team that I might be able to reach out to. If during this live stream, Himanshu and I don't have the answer off the top of our head, we can reach out to phone a friend. Okay, so let's start with 1 second. Let me just make sure I'm logged into the right account here. Studio. And while we do that, Himanshu, do you want to give a quick some quick thoughts on comments we saw from the last Studio Beta video we did on Creator Insider, where people were saying, hey, it sounds like you think the product's perfect and that the only reason people are struggling is because of change aversion. And I wanted to kind of clear the decks and kind of make sure people understood where we were coming from. Do you want to maybe share your thoughts first, Himanshu?
Yeah, sure. Hey, everyone. This is Himanshu. I'm a product manager on the Creator Studio team. Very excited to do this. So to answer Tom's question, I think we have come a long way from where we started the product. Although we are not perfect, I absolutely acknowledge that. And I also acknowledge the fact that for years of using, Classic, a lot of the creators, a lot of you guys are, very used to, and you can probably do things, with your closed eyes. And on Studio, the information architecture, the navigation is somewhat different. So I totally acknowledge that, there is this new learning of doing the same things that you were doing in Classic. And I also do acknowledge that in some areas there is definitely room for improvement. And thank you for your comments in the video that we did. We are going to take and read and take action on all the comments that you have wrote regarding change aversion and regarding navigation in the upcoming few months and quarters.
Yeah, one thing I would sort of follow up on that point is I know some people are in the chat were saying, hey, if it's not perfect, why push it out if it's not done? There's a very simple answer to that, which is Classic is built on very old, 10-year-old, increasingly brittle technology that is actually at risk of not being super stable and performant and requires more and more maintenance costs on our part, which take away our ability to do what creators are asking is like, hey, they want new features, they want new metrics, they want more reliable way to upload and see if there's a problem before they go public. They want more mobile, Creator Studio mobile access and mobile features. And all of those things are coming from the same team. So we have this increasing burden of keeping Classic around. And that's basically the reason why at this point we feel like it's time to make the leap. Because if we waited for Studio Beta to be perfect, like it's software, there's always things that you want to make better. But it's actually harder to get it to that state of perfection if we have to keep people on Classic for much longer. So that's just a little bit of context. It's not that we think, oh, we're just trying to make people's lives hard. We're actually trying to help people be more successful on YouTube the way we think we can do that is to provide the best tools available. The way to do that is to focus all of our efforts on the platform of the future. And the way to do that is to get everybody off of the old thing onto the new thing so that we can increase our velocity of product development. So that's probably a little bit more inside baseball than you guys wanted around product management, but I wanted to address that question. And Himanshu, thanks for providing additional context. So now we are going to do a little bit of a screen share, and I will show you what Studio Beta looks like on a test channel. So a couple things I want to call out. There's a weird formatting thing here. This is a test of an experimental feature where we provide news in a different way. So that's why the thumbnails look weird. Second thing is this is also testing another new feature, which is this like important notifications card, which isn't fully rolled out. But the idea is like, hey, if you have a community guideline strike, if you have a copyright issue, if you have a major YPP issue, we put that front and center and then give you an easy way to kind of address the problem in the new Studio Beta dashboard. Now, some other things I want to call out are this, one of my favorite features of all Studio Beta is this snapshot card here. So what's really cool about this card, and a lot of people have seen this card, but I've been talking to some creators who then say like, oh, I didn't realize it had this capability. So let me just kind of walk you through. What this thing is showing you is how this video has performed compared to your previous 10 videos. Now this channel only has 8 videos, so it's compared to the previous 8. If you hover over it, you get this leaderboard. So this is where you kind of can feel like you're competing against yourself. And as you can see here, like my best video so far for this test channel has been a review of a watch box and some stone bracelets. And whereas the Kenya Safari videos, has not done as well. And the worst one was my dog intelligence toy review. Now, why is this useful? Well, part of the reason is since these videos were uploaded at different times, it's not really fair to compare their total views. What you really want to do is compare their views for the same period of time. In this case, the first 227 days, 21 hours. If I did a new upload tomorrow and I looked at this card, it would give me a similar leaderboard, but it would say like the first 2 hours, 36 minutes. And then you would see how it's performing. So it's really helpful. When we were doing research for Studio Beta, we found that a lot of creators were literally taking a piece of paper and writing down how many views they got for a video in the first hour, in the first 2 hours, in the first 3 hours. And then they would do that for subsequent videos and then have these elaborate spreadsheets. So this basically takes all of that and makes it super clean and obvious. Next, let me just show you, you can click here and go to the new video analytics. Here, what you see is this interesting gray line, which shows like for your typical video, how well it performs day after day. And then the blue line is the video in question, the Kenya Safari one. So if we go to, now I wanna say, here's a perfect example. Let's say I wanna go to the video analytics for the Watchbox video. That was my #1 video. First thing I need to do, and this is where we talk about the entity model. You click on videos, you select the video in question. So that would be the watch box. Where is that watch box video? Here it is. Now, if I click on analytics here, that's the analytics for this video. So let me repeat that. If I'm at the channel level, if I'm here at the channel level and I click on analytics, what I'm going to see is the analytics for the entire channel. However, if I want to go to the analytics for a specific video, first select the video. Then this whole left-hand side will only be relevant for that video. So now if I click on analytics, this will just show me the analytics for the Watchbox video. And this also applies to comments. So a lot of people have said in the past, like, oh, Studio Beta is terrible. When I click on comments, it just munges the comments across all of my videos in one line, in one row, or one column. And the answer is yes, because you're looking at comments at the channel level. If you said, well, I just want to see comments for the Watchbox video, you go to the video first, and then you click on comments, and now you see all of the comments. Unfortunately, there haven't been any comments for this video, but that would show you all the comments for that video. Secondly, now let's look at the analytics for that Watchbox video, because that's what we were originally talking about. So if you look here, what you see is the improved YouTube analytics at the video level. So we kind of organize it by your overview, which are sort of your key performance metrics. One thing that a lot of people appreciate is the audience retention. And they say, oh, you know what? Studio Beta is terrible. There's no audience retention graph. There is. Probably you're not seeing it because you were at the channel level of analytics, but here we're at the video level. And then in fact, if you click see more, boom, look at this. This is the audience retention with the video player. And I can see, oh, wow, look, here we started to see more interest. What was happening? I click on that and I can see, yes, they like it when we were actually opening the box, right? Literally the unboxing moment. Here we had another peek when I was showing the little pillows. Here I'm elbowing. What's going on there? Oh, I'm polishing the watch. Okay, so if you were wondering like, man, I'm not using Studio Beta, there ain't no audience retention chart there. It's there. Go to the video level, go to analytics, and then click on audience retention, see more. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. I'm not even looking at the chat box, but I know what you're probably saying, which is like, why was that so hard to get? You know, why does he have to show us this? Well, part of it is because it is a fundamentally different way of organizing the information by either channel or video. Once you get it, it becomes pretty easy. And what it allows us to do is it allows us to do interesting things. Like after we get everybody off of Classic, wouldn't it be cool is it if you click on this, rather than taking you to the metadata editor, maybe we can take you to like a dashboard for that video. So you can see like the analytics, you can see any issues, you can see your most recent comments, all about that video. And so this sort of entity-based navigation, it's one of those things like it does take a little bit to, it's like going from print to cursive, like you have to kind of learn the new language. But once you get there, we think it's gonna increase a lot of efficiency and moreover, allow us to add more features to Studio that helps creators succeed. So another question I've heard from people is like, you know what? I will not use Studio Beta because there's no real-time data. So let's address that right now. If you go to analytics at the channel level and scroll down, you'll see real-time activity. And so then people say like, well, that sucks because I used to have by 60 minutes, this is last 48 hours, and I used to have it for like 20 videos. So if you click see more, what do you get here? Look at this. Do I have 20? No. Actually, I have, if I had more videos, I would have up to 30 rows. So you actually have more real-time data, and people say like, yeah, but it's only lasts 48 hours. No, man, last 60 minutes right here, right here. So again, now let's keep it real. Some people have been saying like, my God, Tom, you had to go from dashboard, and then you had to click on analytics, and then you had to click on see more, right? And then you had to click on sort by last 60. We get that. I've heard that feedback. I've discussed it with the analytics team. You know, we are discussing things that we can do to make it better. Like, hey, maybe here, straight from the dashboard, there's a link to go to your analytics. Or maybe someday we'll even have the analytics real-time stuff embedded in the channel dashboard. Like those are totally reasonable requests. So again, we're not saying we're perfect, but just wanted to kind of share some of that with you. Let me jump off of the screen sharing for a second. And Himanshu, I'm guessing you might have been looking at the chat discussion or watching the demo. Were there things that I didn't call out for kind of best practices on Studio Beta that we should?
I think a couple of things. One is you should just show how to go live on Creator Studio, and also if you can also just walk through, where is the end screens and the info cards, which is on the
Yeah.
ending.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
if you could do that and spend a couple of minutes while I scan more comments, that'll be
All
great.
right. Let's do it. Let's do it. Hold on one second. Share. Okay. So Himanshu raises a good point, which is people have said, you know what? I will not use Studio Beta. They don't even have live streaming there. Okay. So if you want to live stream from Studio Beta, I'm not in Classic. You click this little camera icon and you say go live. And that takes you into the live control room that you guys are all familiar with, or many of you are familiar with. You can do the webcam streaming, you can do the OBS or whatever fancy streaming you want to do. It's all there. And then after you're done, whoops, oh, I just closed it. Hold on, let me go back. Studio. After you're done with your live stream, if you go to this videos list, there's a live tab here. Now, this live tab will show you all of your upcoming and previous live streams. Now, this test channel, I haven't done a lot, but for you active live streamers, this would be full of stuff, and then you can go and mess around with your metadata, your thumbnail, whatever you want to do. So that is live streaming is absolutely supported from the Studio Beta. All you need to do when you want to go live is click on the Go Live link after you click on the camera icon. If you want to mess with something that is either upcoming or previously scheduled from the Studio Beta, you can go to Videos, click on the Live tab. In fairness, there are some advanced live settings that you will still need to do from the live control room, in which case you just click Go Live, and then you can click this Manage button. And then if you had any upcoming streams, you'd have all of the advanced settings there. So completely doable. I never touched a piece of Classic in this workflow. Okay, so now let's talk about end screen. So Himanshu raised a good point, which is like, hey, I don't want to use Studio Beta. I can't even add end screens. So let's go to a video here. And two things. There's two ways to add end screens. One is you could go to the new Studio Beta editor. So again, click on the video first. Like if there's one thing you take away from this live stream in terms of how to find anything in Studio Beta, generally the answer will always be select the video first. So we're going to select the video first from the video list. Then we can go to this editor option. And in this editor option, you can see down here are a lot of different capabilities. And one of them is end screens. And so here I can add an end screen, I can add blur, I can do a bunch of things. And if I want to add the end screen, I can add different elements, and I can click plus and say, oh, I want to add a playlist element. I can search for the playlist, on and on. Now, let's keep it real. Some people have said, whoa, the Studio Beta editor, like, wait, some people love it. But some people are like, this is way too much for me, man. I don't want to see all these rows and all these things going on and these weird icons. We heard you. We heard you. So there is another option. If you go to the video level, you don't have to click on editor to add an end screen. You can go over here to the right and click on the link that says end screen. Now, if I click on that, it's going to open up a encapsulated version of the classic end screen editor, probably something a lot of you know and love. And you can say like, oh, I want to use a template, or I want to use something from a recent video, yada, yada. And it's a little bit more focused. And then after you're done with that, you can you click save, return to the studio, and be on your way. So there's two ways to do end screens. One is through the new studio editor. The other is through the classic end screen editor that's linked from the Studio Beta video details page down here. That will eventually be replaced by a simplified version of the Studio Editor for end screens that's in development. But until we have that ready, you can still use the classic one. So that's another thing that I should talk about, which is some people say like, wait a minute, I am using Studio Beta. I use it, but I also use things like the classic end screen editor. I use things like this audio library. And when I hear that you guys are saying goodbye to classic, that means all of these things go away. And that is not true. The only thing, the next thing that's going to go away is this single link on the bottom left corner, which will take you to general roaming around access of the Classic Studio, right? That's the thing that'll be going away. What will not be going away is the things that I know a lot of people rely on. And frankly, I do myself for some of my personal channels. Like I rely on the classic end screen editor. I rely on the audio library. I rely on some monetization stuff. Like we get that. Those are not going away until we replace them with native versions of those features in Studio Beta. So hopefully that puts to rest concerns around live streaming and end screens. Same thing with info cards. If you want, they're like, oh man, I really, don't. Maybe the position would be, I need more time to figure out the new Studio Editor. I would like to use the old one in the meantime. Go ahead, select the video first. Go to the right. See this little cards link? There you go. Cards, just as you know them. That's a video of me in a little bush plane. Okay, so let me stop screen sharing for a second.
Yeah.
Himanshu?
I have, we have been consolidating a lot of the comments. So there are a lot of questions, a lot of interest. Let me address the two questions from my end. So the first one is A/B thumbnail testing, when? So good news for you guys. We have been working on it and it will be launched in the next few months. I don't have the exact date yet, but we are working on it. So, and I'm personally very, very excited about that. Tom.
Now, one caveat I would put there, Himanshu, on the A/B testing is it partly depends on how soon we can deprecate Classic. So in a weird way, if you want more new creator features, the best thing you can do is get off of Classic, because all of those things, A/B testing, a pre-check of your upload to see if we can flag any issues before you go public, a video dashboard, important notifications, growth recommendations based on smart analysis of data, all of that stuff is sitting behind this big chunk of work, which is maintaining Classic. So I just want to, I know we're optimistic. We want to get that done in a few months. It really depends on how quickly we can get creators to stop using Classic.
All right, awesome. So the next one, Tom, let me read a question for you. Will you please show us how to see audience retention graphs and compare between subscribed, non-subscribed? This is a very helpful feature in Classic Analytics that I use constantly.
Comparing the audience retention for subscribe or non-subscribe. That one is not currently available, but I will take that as feedback, as something that people want, and we'll share that with the analytics team. So yes, there's audience retention overall, but if you want to compare it between different audience segments, that's not currently supported. What we generally do with the Studio Beta is when people send feedback in the send feedback link on the bottom left, or if they share feedback on Creator Insider or with the support team, we calculate sort of the most requested things and try and prioritize those. So if everybody wants the audience retention comparison, we'll definitely kind of give that the strongest consideration. So thanks for the feedback.
Tom, here is one more thing that a lot of people want: dark mode.
Yeah. So here's the thing with dark mode. We have heard that one. We are currently prioritizing a few other things. So one is we want to make sure easier navigation so that I don't have to do a live stream and show you how to do the video and channel entity stuff. Like that's on us. We need to make that product easier to understand right off the bat. Second is we want to improve the speed of the page load time. We've actually made significant improvements in the last few months. I think some people may have noticed it. We want to keep doing that. The third thing is we want to work on that important notifications, the video dashboard, the pre-publish checks to see if there's any issues. However, fourth, also we want to close the mobile gap. We want to have the Creator Studio mobile app have more capabilities. But I get dark mode is also a top requested thing. And it's one of those things where I think it's just a matter of when we get to it. And hopefully we can get to it next year. Again, part of that depends on how many people are still on Classic. And if people, every time you use Classic, you basically are pushing out all new features, a few months.
All right. Next, there is also a bit of complaints on, that Studio is slow. So folks are talking about, latency. So maybe I can start and then Tom, you can add more color. So absolutely, I think this is something our metrics also tell the story that Studio is slow in some browsers in some geographies. We have a dedicated team who is working very, very hard to make Studio faster, and we have actually made a lot of improvements in the last 3 to 4 months. I hope that you folks have also seen those improvements, but we are not done yet. We have a certain targets for what we consider our min viable on what the product should be, and in the next couple of months or so, we hope to reach those targets and make the product faster.
Cool. So I think we showed the analytics stuff, we showed the navigation, we showed the dashboard. I believe we've covered most of the stuff, and maybe what we'll do now is see if there's any final questions in the chat box and try and answer as many of them as we can, and then maybe we'll wrap up in a few minutes and make this like kind of a 30-minute stream. So I see a question around, was someone asking, making Studio Beta accessible via more browsers. That's an interesting, it's a fair question. Right now, be mindful that for every additional browser we need to support, it comes at a material cost to adding new features. And so what we try to do is we look at the data and we see, well, what browsers are most creators using to do their work? And we definitely want to support the most popular ones based on what our customers use. And we look at sort of market share for browsers in general as well. And then in terms of mobile web, our preference is to make the mobile Studio app much better so that you can just do more from your native Android or iOS app versus having to kind of pinch and zoom on a mobile web. Himanshu, any other questions that caught your eye?
Yeah, having said that, I think folks are asking that when are they going to be able to access Studio on mobile browser? I think you addressed some of it, but that is also in the works. So sometime next year, you all should be able to access Studio on a mobile browser as well. But our long-term plan is for you to not be able to do that and to have both the Android and iOS apps in a way feature rich, so that you never feel a need to go to the mobile browser, because that's a second tier experience.
Cool. I just remembered I forgot to show people the new uploads experience. So let me do a quick screen share of that, and then if there's any final questions you catch that are interesting, Himanshu, we can try and hit those. But let me show you guys the new uploads experience, which it's one of my favorite things about the Studio Beta. So if you go to Studio Beta and you click the little camera icon, And by the way, I know some people have said like, hey man, that's hard to find that icon. That wasn't even obvious to me that that's how I go live. So we are working on making this more discoverable and live more discoverable. But let's go to, if you select the upload video beta, not the regular, not the classic, and if you go from the main app, if you're just like using YouTube normally and you click on that upload icon, it's going to go to the legacy one. But check out this beaut. So if I select a file here, it will do this upload, and then I have all of these beautiful kind of easy to understand steps. And it also, I have the thumbnail, I can add to playlist. It's just very logical. I can save as draft. I highly recommend, and you can set your visibility and your scheduling all very easily. So that's actually one of the most popular things on the new on the Studio Beta is this new improved upload flow. And that new upload flow will be further improved in the future. Namely, one thing we want to do is as you're uploading, before you hit publish, if we detect that there's an issue with your video, maybe we can kind of notify you in the flow and say, hey, don't click publish yet because maybe we found a copyright issue, or maybe we think that there's something here that's inappropriate that's going to have monetization issues, or maybe we detect that, oh, you know, it's the sound is only going from the left speaker, you know, whatever. Like this notion of a pre-flight check is something that we're really anxious to work on. And unfortunately, that team right now is still part of that team is maintaining Classic. So again, the sooner we can get everybody off of Classic, the sooner we can work on the cool stuff that not only we know creators want to do, but we want to work on too, because we think it'll have a lot more impact.
All right, I can take one question. So Brickstar is asking, can you search the playlist you want? That's a capability that they are missing. So good news, Brickstar. We are going to provide the ability to search playlist in the video metadata editor on the video list page. Is just a few weeks away. So stay tuned.
And then the draggable description box is coming soon. Hopefully in a matter of weeks, not months. We totally hear, you know, people are saying, hey, in the Studio Beta, the metadata description is like this, like a little mail slot. And if I have a long thing, I can't see it very easily. Classic, I was able to drag it. That was a miss on our part. We're going to add it. It's just a matter of time and sort of organizing the sort of engineering pipeline. But we heard you, and that will be improved hopefully in the next several weeks.
All right, Tom. So the next question from Brain Nation is, why is that even one of my video is having 15,000 watch time, but when you go to my monetization, watch time is 3,000? Why is the difference?
I think without looking at that chart, it's probably that the watch time from your monetized playbacks is different than your total watch time. And there are some of your views that were not monetized. Maybe there were not ads available that we could show. And so that's why it's probably less than your total watch time.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next one. Please tell us about comments disabled news. Why comments are disabled for family till now? By commenting about why comments are disabled for family till now.
Yeah, this live stream is just about the Studio Beta. The comments policy is actually a different team, but I would point you guys to whatever has been posted publicly by YouTube about the comments policy. And you know, if interested, we can try and do a follow-up in a future Creator Insider video just about comments. But that's not what Himanshu and I are experts in.
All right. What about Jarek is asking, hello, what about my own templates for end screens? Now on beta, there is 6 prepared templates. How can I add my own set?
Yeah, so in terms of end screen templates, I think we've heard a few requests like, hey, we want to add more templates, and moreover, we want to be able to easily clone from a previous video. Totally hear that feedback, and that's part of the reason why we still give that link to the classic end screen editor, because until we add those important features to the native Studio Beta end screen editor. We didn't feel comfortable saying, hey, you can't use those features. So when we bring it over and have the native version, then we can get rid of the classic end screen editor. In the meantime, just bear with us and feel free to use that classic end screen editor from the Studio Beta in that link on the bottom right-hand side like we showed before.
All right, Tom, do you want to keep going with the questions?
No, I think we're good. I think there's one last thing I wanted to show that is pretty cool, because people were asking about comments, and so while I'm not an expert on comment policy, I do have the ability to show you some very basic comment capabilities that are exclusive to the Studio Beta that were just launched recently. So if I share my screen, and if I look at, let's say this video, which is about jamón ibérico, and if I go to comments, what you'll see here is this little filter and a chip that will, first of all, focus on only the comments that you haven't responded to. So like if I had responded to some comments, you see here I've responded to some, right? But let's say like, well, I don't want to see the stuff that I've already, replied to. So then I click this and I say, let's only show me the stuff I haven't. I say apply, boom. I filter, right? Now I could also add even additional filters. I say, well, I have some, in this case, obviously I don't have that many comments, but I have so many comments. I want to focus on, maybe comments from people who have very large, large-ish channels, like maybe more than 100, or it could be more than 1 million, whatever. So say more than 100, and boom, now I filtered it even further. And LMJ chilling with the grays is saying, the guy from YouTube Creator Studio, what time Friday? So then I can just reply and be like, yes, this is a test channel. And I say reply, and boom, it's there. Now you can see the reply. I know in previous feedback, people were saying, hey man, I don't like Studio Beta. When I reply, I can't see my reply. No, now you can reply. We don't have to expand it. So this advanced filtering system is really great for channels that have so many comments, it can't possibly reply to all of them, but they want to have like, oh, I just want to do the ones that it contains questions, In this case, there aren't any that contain questions that also have more than 100 that I haven't replied to. But here, if I remove those other filters, you see that this is that question. So super cool. And that's an example, I'll tell you what, that's an example of a feature that would never have made it to Classic because the team that works on comments would have spent like 6 months trying to build that thing in Classic, which is really old, brittle technology. And they were able to do it pretty quickly, probably a third of the time in Studio Beta. And as more and more teams across YouTube are trying to figure out what new features to create for creators, a big reason that they are open to doing more is they're like, oh, we don't have to build it in Classic anymore. The only, I'll share a little inside baseball with you guys. The only concern that some feature teams across YouTube have about building new creator features is like, oh, well, there's still some creators that are using Classic. If I only build it in Studio Beta, I'm not going to be able to reach them. So every time you touch Classic, you are delaying new feature development for all creators. Don't want to, I know I don't want to marginalize the transition costs. It is going to be, for people who haven't, it takes a little while to get the entity model. There are some journeys that take a couple more clicks, but there are also tons of features that never existed, like CTR, unique viewers, impressions, comment filters, memberships, merch, advanced copyright features, all exclusive to Studio Beta. So I do want to acknowledge, though, that it's for some people who've been born and bred and spent years in Classic, it's not going to be trivial. But just try it for a few days, and you might never look back.
Yeah. Hey, Tom, one question we should definitely address is the whole timing around when is Classic going to go away? When are we sunsetting Classic? What's the timeline look like?
Yeah, so publicly we've said that Classic will, like parts of it will go away at the end of this year. we don't have any specific dates that we can share at this time, but I will tell you we're getting really close. I will also tell you that it's not like all of Classic overnight is going to disappear. The first thing will just be that little link on the bottom left corner that provides general access to Classic. Secondly, we'll likely start with just the people who we know rarely, if ever, go to Classic, and we'll test it and see how it's performing. And then thirdly, we'll give people a heads up. So it's not like you'll wake up one day and that link will be gone, but if you're logging in on a regular basis, you'll probably have seen a notification indicating that that link is going away soon. And again, like if you're relying on the Classic end screen editor, if you're relying on Classic audio library, those are fine. Those are deep linked from Studio Beta. They'll still be there until they're native versions in the product itself.
All right, let me take another quick one, Tom, and then I'll turn it over to you for what you want to do next. All right, so Beatmaster is asking, when do all users going to get the dedicated copyright section that exists in Classic, but it's not there today? So again, good news, guys, this year. So we are October 23rd today, and we have like 2 months and a week left. So in that time, you will be able to go to Studio video list, and you'll be able to filter all videos that have any kind of copyright issues. And we are also working on another cool feature that will also be in video list. We are adding a new column to make the visibility of like the issues more easier at a glance. So stay tuned. This should be solved in the next few weeks.
Awesome. Well, I think we accomplished our goal, Himanshu, of just kind of providing a little more transparency about how we're thinking about things, taking the time to walk creators through questions that they've had in a visual demo, answering some of the questions that we could get to in the chat. Let's continue the conversation in future episodes of Creator Insider. And I just want to thank everybody for participating in this dialogue. And also thank you guys for all the feedback. Like, you might think that we aren't listening, but I guarantee you, Himanshu, me, and a whole bunch of other people on the studio team read all of the feedback. We read summaries of it. We look at analysis of the stuff from Send Feedback, comments in Creator Insider, stuff on Twitter. That's how over the last couple of years, we've made Studio Beta way better. Frankly, I would not be comfortable removing that general access to Classic a year ago. The product wasn't there yet. It was still in development. But I think we're really, really close now where you can completely get all of your critical user journeys done in Studio Beta, and we can make that big move in the near future. And that, I think, will benefit everybody. But I also acknowledge there's going to be a little bit of a transition time, and I want to thank everybody in advance for their patience with us. And then by the way, it's not like once we remove the general access to Classic, like Studio Beta is frozen in time. Actually, it's quite the opposite. We can accelerate the rate of improvements to Studio Beta once we remove Classic entirely. So we're eager to do that, because at the end of the day, like, we aren't successful if creators aren't successful. And so we're excited to launch some new stuff for you guys next year, and keep making improvements in the meantime.
And we will look at all the comments here, and also the comments on the Career Insider. And Tom and I are going to do another video on Studio Beta, just basically organizing your comments and answering specific questions soon.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Himanshu, for joining us. I know it's evening over in Europe at the moment. It's sunny in California. So thanks to everybody for joining, and we will see you guys next time. Keep it real.
See you.
And broadcast.